Good morning, everybody. It's so great to see you. I hope you're having fun at Terrificon. I know I am. My name's John Suntras. I host a podcast called Word Balloon. It's at wordballoon.com. And I have the privilege on my show to interview a lot of these people, like our panelists, one-on-one. But this is fantastic because truly, I am one of you. Have been watching since 1993, the debut of this show. Continue to watch it in syndication and also streaming, because it's truly my favorite iteration of Star Trek. We're talking about Deep Space Nine, and we have three fantastic people with me. Immediately to my right, I always get my stages wrong, but wonderful actress, musician, and author, as you'll learn in this panel, the great Nana Visitor. One of the great characters I was just talking about beyond Deep Space Nine. This guy played Liberace in a fantastic television movie. Of course, we know him as the was it the Scorpio Killer?
Scorpio.
Yeah, Dirty Harry. And one of my favorite crime movies with Walter Matthau, Charlie Varick, the great Andrew Robinson.
And also an author.
And come on, man, Beauty and the Beast, Brooklyn Bridge, so many other great roles over the years, and also a very accomplished Shakespearean scholar, performer, teacher, Armin Shimerman.
Also an author.
Also an author. Guys, I really wonder, because as you've all explained to me in interviews, Deep Space Nine was kind of, it wasn't Next Generation, it came alongside of it. But it was kind of, to use the metaphor, the bald-headed stepchild that, we really, I don't know if, and you guys can explain it better if Paramount didn't know what to do with you or whatever. But, I mean, my God, this wonderful wave of acceptance. I mean, we all love all of iterations of Star Trek, but really, it's been really great to see, especially when you guys made the What You Leave Behind documentary, too, just the love that we all still have for this show that you stopped doing 25 years ago. I mean, so yeah, I mean, is it a fantastic, I mean, again, you've had your predecessors as examples as well, but is it surprising that there is this much love for Deep Space Nine?
Well, first of all, what I found when I was writing the book and talking to people from all the series, every single series got the same thing. You're ruining Star Trek. Even Next Generation.
Yes.
You are ruining Star Trek. And when I talked to one of the executive producers of Discovery, I said, I've got one question for you. Did you get, and we both said, you're ruining Star Trek. It was like, okay, yeah, we all got it there. But it was serialized. And in the 90s, that wasn't a form that was easy, especially when they put us all over the place. You could hardly find the show.
Right.
And during the pandemic, a lot of people went, all right, I gotta watch something. I wanna watch Star Trek. Let's finally see DS9. And I remember seeing on Twitter, now X, it saying, someone wrote, DS9 is trending. Why?
Yes, we lived in the shadows for a long time, and yes, streaming and COVID and everything else helped bring us to the forefront. We are immensely grateful. We are immensely grateful because we told great stories, and we're very proud of the stories. And I do think that they left us alone because they were focused on other things. And because of that, Ira and their writers and all the designers and the artists involved in the show got to break the envelope, to go beyond what was expected. And because of that, we told phenomenal stories.
That's great. That's excellent. Andrew?
Well, I know all of that is true. They didn't help us by kind of impinging us, from at the beginning we were sharing the stage with Next Generation, which by then had found its way, and it was the 800-pound gorilla, and then they squeezed in Voyager,
right
before we were over. So
to start UPN,
yeah,
and really the flagship show of UPN.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wonder, and really, I'm so glad Nana mentioned it. First of all, Nana, I want you to promote your book. It's coming up October, right?
Yes, it's out October 1st. It's on sale, pre-sale now, on Amazon, and it's called Open a Channel, and I really hope it does.
Well, and you're, as you said, kind of in a world history, you're interviewing both people in front of the camera and behind the scenes as well, the women.
Yeah, and it's the women of Star Trek, what they were going through in the decades that they were filming it, but what they were projecting to the audience was this hope for a future for women that really inspired people to go, wait a minute, yeah, I can be an engineer. I can, and not only women. I remember talking to a man who was the child of a single woman watching TNG and found self-acceptance because Gates McFadden's character, Dr. Crusher, was a professional woman with a single child, and he went, hey, I think Wesley's pretty cool, I must be cool too.
Did everyone else have trouble in their cities with preemption for Deep Space Nine? So I was in Chicago, I was telling Nana the other day that Cub games would preempt it, and the week before it would be preempted, they'd have a crawl at the bottom. Make sure you catch the next episode on a special night. And man, my VCR, I think I broke at least 3 VCRs. Keeping track of you guys and the timer run and everything, but I got it. So I didn't have to wait for streaming, I got it all. Armin and Andrew, I'm curious because both your characters, when we first meet them, even Andrew in a more benign way when he's sitting down to have lunch with Bashir. But really, both of you, we don't know if we could trust you guys.
Well, I don't know how benign that first scene was. I mean, I've told this to a few people today. The reason I got that job is because of Garak. Is because they were looking for a storyline for Siddig playing Dr. Bashir. And because he was kind of being left out as he was being one of the regulars. So they figured, well, we'll get this old Cardassian spy in there and see what happens. And so at the same time, I'm struggling with figuring out what a Cardassian is. I have no idea. I saw a bit of, David Warner torturing Picard and Mark Alimo, and I thought, nah, I don't want to do that. What can I do? And so I came up with this idea that if he's an alien, then, okay, you're a humanoid, you can't help it. I mean, all our aliens have to be humanoid in some way, no matter how you try to, much makeup you slap on us. So I tried to figure, okay, what is a Cardassian, what do Cardassians do, what differentiates themselves? And I was really struggling with this, and this is a true story, and why I think I got the job. So I'm in full gear. I haven't even met Siddig before we're shooting. And I'm standing around waiting for our scene to begin. I haven't even met Sid. And I see him. And Sid is one of the most beautiful men I have ever seen in my life. And I'm thinking, that's it. That's the thing. Garak falls head over heels for this guy. And so, if you remember that very first scene, when I come up around behind him, and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I say, hello. And Sid picked it up immediately, and so he came up with this, remember, I don't know if you remember his expression, which was wonderful, which was, And I'm convinced that's why it was more than just a one-off, to play Garak.
Yeah, I think it's because you're an extraordinary actress when they catch you.
Well,
How did you the initial mistrust of Quark? I mean,
Yes,
that's actually
absolutely.
where
Quark is the most trustworthy character.
I'm sorry.
I always thought so. Maybe the others didn't, but I did.
Do you know
By ethos, he lived by ethics that were his culture's ethics.
that's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, no, and immediately I got the Casablanca connection right away. Not even that necessarily, although later when he was with Mary Crosby, there was that kind of Casablanca story that Quark had to have. Do you all know that Andrew initially auditioned for Quark?
No, for Odo.
For Odo, pardon. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Max was the only choice.
Oh, excuse me, that's right. Thank you, Armin. Absolutely. Listen, everybody, I'm sure you all have questions, and I always get to talk to these people one-on-one, but this is like your time. So please line up to the microphone rather than ask from the audience, so we just kind of can get a little more semblance of what's going on. But yeah, sir, if you're ready, I'll let you start right away.
My name is Garak. I was just over at
Hi.
Dave Earth. So, the question I was going to ask was during the scenes where Cisco is like, he talks with the Crockers and Crockers take on you guys, the characters, like, not like Kira or even Garak. How did y'all like translate that over from your regular characters? Because you had to talk a certain way. Because the prophets, talk in riddles. And so how did y'all shoot that? And then how did y'all like translate that from your original character and the way your original character like or act?
You're the only one.
Yeah,
I'm the only one
yeah,
who did that.
yeah.
I can't recall, but I'm very good at going from one thing to another in my mind.
Mhm.
Terribly enough as a human myself, but I can drop something and go to something else very easily. And I think that's the way I did it. It was just, I remember I played a multiple personality once because I'm good at doing that.
And then the other question for you I had was how fun how fun was it to play your mirror?
That I was gonna say as well. And honestly, I want to know all of you guys.
Yeah,
The mirror universe, the intendant, come on. The intendant, I mean, we love Kira, and she's amazing. But obviously traumatized by her backstory. No trauma for the intendant. That's a free-willing, very happy person.
She's very happy in her world. That was really, I felt like a panther. It was like, I own this, I own everything and everybody. And so that was a really interesting place to be, but I'll tell you, the costume was awful. It was rubber, I would sweat in it, and they'd have to bring out this 6-foot fan that I'd have to be like this in front of, so that, because it would make it black wherever I sweat. I'd have a big sweat stain on my stomach, so, and not sexy, so. So I was like this in between shots, and the other thing, it would be like, I'm going, so, but the reality was, it squeaked every move I made. It squeaked. So I'm walking down. So everything had to be looped. I had to go into post and add dialogue over everything that I did. So the character was great. The costume, but I think it's the costume that people remember the most. So Bob Blackman did an incredible job with that. It may have squeaked, but it looked great.
Well, and he sold it. I mean, seriously, man. I mean, you're just, you're totally in full pose. And hey, man, that's the character. That's great.
You can't shy away from a rubber suit.
If I ever write it for Star Trek, that'll be the chapter.
There it is.
For absolutely. Andrew, your mirror character still, whichever way the wind's blowing, that's who I'm with and everything. That's cool. How would you describe Mirror Garak?
I hated Mirror Garak. I really did.
Playing it or just?
No, I hate playing.
Go on, why?
Playing because I lost the dimensionality of Garak.
That's fair.
Garak has a subtext. Garak was, complex. Garak was, he was fun because he was sitting behind his smile and so forth, and having whatever he was thinking and doing whatever he's doing. I mean, but the mirror, universe. Garak, it was like a lot of bad television that I'd done in the 70s.
Bad Barnaby Jones villain.
Yeah, the bad guy. Stick him out.
Well, but I still feel there was like a survival mode of, hey, you don't want to piss her off, you don't want to piss,
no.
You don't want to piss Worf off.
And then, but the worst was when I had to sit at Michael Worf's feet and chained to him, I mean, I was so miserable. So, it's the only time, otherwise Garak was a joy.
Mirror Quark?
I died.
You think?
Lucky you.
That was cool to see, though, that Max took over and then ultimately Nog took over and everything.
And they killed off Ferengi in every mirror universe.
They did.
I was
They
not
did.
happy about the mirror.
With the exception truly of Michael and Nana, and really, you guys, you gotta work with what you got. But I really did feel at the end of saying, all right, I think, too much Mirror Universe, let's move on. But yeah, great question, man. Please, sir.
Hi, somebody I've never read it, had conversations with, which I thank you for. My name's Randy. My question for you is, given the tradition of Star Trek, by the time you got there, was there any of that, I'm trying to find the right words, was there any of that tradition occurred to you as you discovered your character? Any pressure or feelings about that?
I'll start with that, because I had a huge burden. I've told the story many times, forgive me for repeating it, but I hated what I did as the first Ferengi on Next Generation. Just despised what I did. It was my fault, nobody else's, my fault. Take full responsibility for it. So I had a huge responsibility in my own head, which was I had to change the Ferengi that I had created and change them into something else. That was an enormous responsibility for me personally, and I took it very seriously. I'm very grateful for what the writers did to help me in that journey.
I had no burden at all because there was not much of a Cardassian presence before Garak. As I say, there was Mark Alimo and David Warner, and they were that militaristic kind of character, the Cardassian that I wasn't.
My role was originally written for Michelle Forbes, who was Ensign Rowe in Next Gen. And the writers told me that they hired her, they told me this much later, because they realized there was an issue with, the rule that everybody got along in the Federation. So they needed some kind of friction to make fire. And she was a fire starter, especially for the character of Picard. And it made him have different colors and do different things. And she's a wonderful actor. So I had, although I never watched her, I didn't see her till much later, till recently when I wrote the book, I went and saw her scenes, because I was afraid it would somehow cut into what I wanted to do with it. So I didn't have her influence, but my God, she was wonderful on Picard.
If I can ask Nana, were you concerned about being stereotyped? Because it was 99. And it's the Adam West syndrome of, well, you're Batman. I don't know if I want to see you in anything else. And this is casting people saying it. Did you have, because again, the guys were lucky to be in makeup so they could hide behind their mask. How was it for you?
I may have gotten stereotyped, but I can't imagine a job as an actor where what's important to me, feeling like I have this full spectrum, this huge room to play in, and connection and purpose. I can't imagine another job offering all of that, so I'm cool if I got stereotyped as Major Kira. It's all right with me.
Yeah.
I know Andy has told me that he's had the same reaction, so I'll speak for both of us. If we walk into a casting session and people were very nice, oh, I love your work, you're a terrific actor, immediately know I'm not getting this job.
I understand. Because they're already thinking of you.
Oh, we think you're an amazing actor. And immediately I know, okay, let's get out.
Bummer.
Yeah,
That's that. Yes, so sometimes it's not stereotype, it's pigeonholed.
Yeah.
Respectfully, yes.
Yeah, it's pigeonholed into things. And for instance, I'm sure oftentimes my agent will call and say, they won't see you. And I say, oh, why won't they see me? Well, you're a science fiction actor, so they're doing a thriller, so
Yeah.
they can't use it.
You're great brains, great minds run this business. After Dirty Harry,
Yes.
except for Don Siegel, I didn't work for nearly a year and a half. I did plays,
Sure.
But it was like amazing. I'll tell you one story too, and this I never tired telling the story because it was so amazingly typical of our business. So shortly after Dirty Harry was released, I was still living in New York, so I was out in California, and I was way out, on the beach somewhere, and they called me and they said, "Listen, you have an appointment at Warner Brothers, and there's this casting director Barbara Miller who wants to meet you. I said, okay, great. And it was a schlep. And of course, I'm being a New York, actor and not knowing LA. It took me forever to get out to Burbank, Warner Brothers. And I got to the door, and came in, and this assistant comes running up to me. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but Barbara can't meet you. She's something, has taken her away. And I was pissed because I drove all the way out there. And she said, she'll see you another time. And I said, well, I don't think so because I'm not going to be around. Okay. Anyway, so years later, I'm at a Hollywood party and I run into Barbara Miller. And she comes up to me and she says, I'm so sorry. I have to tell you something. I apologize for something. I said, what? She said, that time when you came to my office and you had an appointment, I saw you coming up the path. And I turned to my assistant and I asked, who is that? And then the assistant said, well, that's Andy Robbins. And that's your next, he was in this movie, Dirty Harry. And she said, I don't want to meet him. I don't want to meet him. Apologize to him and tell him, I don't want to meet him. And that was it. Wow. That was it. That was what happened to me for about a year and a half with that. Yeah.
Well, again, you were playing, like you said, Don Siegel, Dirty Harry, and Charlie Varick.
Yeah,
you were
right.
playing these extreme characters.
But I wouldn't pass, because usually the bullshit that I would, the kind of crap that I would go up for, couldn't hold a candle to the movies working with Don Siegel. So, at the time, it was upsetting. But believe me, I am grateful.
If you haven't seen Charlie Varick, the Walter Matthau movie that Andy made as well, unbelievable crime movie. And it's so great to see Walter Matthau in a serious role rather than, his great comedy and stuff. Armin, do you guys know Brooklyn Bridge? A 90s show that Armin did right before DS9. Complete 180, and that's why I respect what you said about being pigeonholed, Armin. But truly, nothing like Quark, a very unique cousin in this family. Marion Ross was the matriarch of the family. Louis Sorge was the grandfather. Great show, and I've told you before, I love that show.
So, yes, thank you for that. Brooklyn Bridge was a phenomenal show. It was a half-hour sitcom, but it was a 3-camera. And in sitcoms, what usually happens is you rehearse, and then you shoot it on the final day. Usually it's 5 days of work. Brooklyn Bridge was a half-hour, and we worked for 8 days, and we rehearsed for 7 days, and we shot on the 8th day. And it was like doing a play. It was like doing a play. I can't explain the difference. These guys understand, but it was so rehearsed, and it was phenomenal actors. Marion Ross was extremely good. And if I may, shout out to Brooklyn Bridge, because if I had not done Brooklyn Bridge, very likely I would not be sitting here today. About that time, right before Brooklyn Bridge, I was convinced that I was finished as an actor, that I was no longer going to get cast in anything. I'd had a very nice career in the theater. I'd come to LA, I'd done a number of things, but at 40 years old, I looked in the mirror and said, who the hell is going to hire you? You don't look like other actors. You're a little bit larger than life. So I thought, I've got to quit because I've got a wife to take care of, and I was just ready to go. And I was looking for other jobs. If a teaching job had come along, I probably would take it. But out of the blue, I didn't audition. That had never happened before. I just got a phone call saying they want you for Brooklyn Bridge. And doing Brooklyn Bridge restored my confidence in my ability. And so a year after I went to Brooklyn Bridge, I had the audition for Quark, and I went in with some confidence because I had been doing Brooklyn Bridge, and that may have swayed me.
And also Ira Bear, who saw every show on Earth, knew every actor on Earth. Ira, by the way, who was the guy who ran.
He was.
And and I'm sure he saw Brooklyn Bridge.
He might have, but it was Michael Dillon.
Oh, Mike Miller, that's right. He was the first real showrunner. Okay,
That's right.
that's excellent. Now, if you guys have a chance, Catchy Comedy, I think, runs it on weekends every now and then. Tremendous show, really wonderful ensemble show. And Armin is great. Please, miss.
Thank you.
Hello, this one question is for Andrew. Your character had such a huge arc of what looked like villain to heroic storylines. Was that the producer's intent, or did that happen from when you first started to play the role that they recognized that?
You know, that's a great question. I wonder about that myself. You know, quite honestly, I always expected to, you know, I always looked forward, by the way, because I love playing Garak so much. I always looked forward to a script when a script came, because, you know, and it would come occasionally, because I wasn't a regular like these guys. And so, but I was always thrilled when the script came, but I was always afraid that it was going to be the end of Garak, because I thought they got to kill Garak. Sooner or later, they got to kill him, you know. And I would have bet money on it, and I'm not a betting person. The fact that that arc happened, the way it ended, was astounding to me. Where I end up being sort of like this, you know, a leader of the rebellion. I mean, it was amazing, and I don't think they had planned it. I really don't think they had planned that. But I think basically that as you know, as that series went on and so forth, you know, they became more invested in Garak, and then, of course, that final storyline, which was extraordinary.
Then I have to ask, and I asked you also when it was just you and me talking, the changes in Kira. Kira goes from being a rebel for her people and an oppressed rebel to having to deal with the Federation. And then finally, the ultimate irony, your oppressors, you have to train them to be rebels. And as I said, within it, certainly in today's world, we can all appreciate the different world conflicts that have been going on. I wondered if that was in your mind, but also what a gift to have that kind of evolution in your play.
Yeah, and the guest stars that we had that helped. I mean, Louise Fletcher, having that character come against Kai Wynn, come up against Kira. Kira could no longer just be an emotional reactor. She had to become political in order to deal with this force that Kai Wynn was. So that was huge in taking my character somewhere else. Casey was as well.
Casey Bates.
You know, I just, my husband and I just spent the weekend with Casey and his wife, and he brought up a story that I remember. The first time Kira flipped his character, we got into a physical fight, and I flipped him, and he's all, you know, bloody and everything. He was like, now, wait a minute, guys. He was like, could she really do this? And they were like, yes.
Awesome.
Fantastic. That's great. Man, and that whole arc, the end of the Dominion War, the 10 episodes, as they said, you know, now we're used to serialized television that way.
That's right.
But that was really exciting. And also, the stories and your characters earned that kind of story where it's like, we know you all. And now it's interesting seeing you in this really dire situation where shit's really hitting the fan and how you're all reacting to it. And my God, Andrew, you had, I forget which, where they were all on a planet and it was just you and Worf on the ship. And it's like, well, we got to kill we got to shoot at the planet. It's like, we'll kill everybody. Well, needs of the many, that kind of thing. And it's, again, the turns you guys had.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
Yeah, so you had talked about Deep Space Nine becoming more popular when streaming hit and like that. And for years before that, it was, definitely considered the underdog of all the series, unfortunately, because in my opinion, as she mentioned, you guys had the best character arcs. You told the best stories. And it also featured several episodes where, I think it was Far Beyond the Stars, where it showcased you outside of your character and showed you different acting abilities as other people. The best character arc, unfortunately, is no longer with us, Aaron Eisenberg, as Noah, where first episode, he's a thief and he's stealing anything. And I think he had one of his first scenes with you, Noah, and then he had his last scene with you as well, where he just got made a lieutenant. And again, best character arc out of all the series. The other three series, as great as they are, didn't have nearly as great character arc.
And I'll tell you why. Because we both stay in one place. So the recurring characters, Andy, Aaron, Max, the hundreds of other recurring characters, Mark Limo,
Jeffrey,
Casey, all of those, they could develop because we weren't leaving them behind. We were all living together. And that's the thesis of Deep Space Nine. How do people who don't necessarily like each other learn to live together? And isn't that something we all face, whether it's on TV or in real life?
My question after that is, what were your favorite scenes of there in Eisenberg?
Oh,
He always brought up to me the dance, the little feral dance that he did with me. And he actually had me work on it with him. He was like, no, what can I do? This is an important moment. This is a Ferengi dancing. Now, how should it be? And he took so much time and thought with that little strange, weird thing that he did. And that always sticks in my head because I remember off camera as well as on.
I don't know about scenes, but I do want to mention something. Aaron spoke to me often. Actors often have this problem. They're not quite sure they're doing it right. They're not quite sure that they're good enough for someone. Aaron was always concerned that his acting wasn't good enough. And now that he's passed away, I hope he's hearing this somewhere, how much people liked his performance. He was quite brilliant.
and sadly, really didn't have anything much.
Again, because I'm Rain Man when it comes to this stuff, sadly, chapter and verse. The Empok Nor episode where you get crazy, did you have scenes with him there? Or?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't. I only remember Colm. I only
Sure.
torturing Colm, which I enjoyed.
That's great. Please, sir.
Hello. Deep Space Nine. I watched all Star Treks. My favorite Star Trek by far, because of what the gentleman before me just said. The character development was just amazing. And I agree with him as well. Nod's character, best character development in all of Star Trek, I believe. So I just would like to ask you guys, of the characters in the show, which characters did you like? Which character arcs did you just like watch develop? Like, what was your favorite development for a character?
You mean other than the character
themselves?
itself?
Yeah.
Like what was your favorite?
I've been asked that question before, and I got to tell you, I was so happy not to have gotten Odo because the right person got Odo. Definitely the right person. And I'm so glad I got Garak. Garak. I mean it. I've had a couple roles in my life. Very fortunate where the role I played has changed my life, and Garak is one of them. I didn't want to be anybody else.
I'd say that Terry's, there was a metamorphosis there that I thought was wonderful. And it was really the writers, and they talked to me about this, the fact that they tried to make her be these multitudes and have this age, but she just talked about it until they finally figured out at a certain point, no, she's got to do all these things. She's got to have, Klingons who are blood brothers of hers, and show all the multitudes in her. So I thought that was a wonderful shift and a great arc for Terry.
And I would have to point to Max Grodénchik and Ron.
That's right.
When in the first episode, Ron doesn't even have a name. He's simply the double wheel dealer. That's what it said in the script. But he does say Quark's brother. And to see the development from him being a complete idiot to enormously sympathetic, kind, concerned father of one, a brilliant physicist and engineer. To see that arc and to watch Max deal with that, and Max did a phenomenal job doing it. That's the arc that I'm quite impressed with.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. I'd have to say Sirach.
Oh,
Sirach,
cool.
he was like, and the thing is, there was a natural organic, growth to his character, obviously, since he he grew from boyhood to manhood pretty much on the show. But he had, I mean, and he had this steadiness, this clarity about him, even when he was a young boy. And the way it was very impressive. And I think he has been kind of underlooked because they just assume, well, he's just the kid. He was just, Sisko's son.
Very cool. Thanks, man. Miss?
So I know a lot of Trek actors, including yourselves, have spoken about things that you wanted to change about your characters or do that were rejected. Was there anything you really wanted to change that was actually accepted?
No.
I won one battle with Ira Stephen Bear, and it was that he wanted me to have been romantically involved with Ducat, and I was just like, it can't ever happen. It can be a Cardassian, but not that one. And he said, okay, because it was coming up in the next script, and the next script, it was my mother that he had been romantically involved.
Oh, they literally changed it for that?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Holy cow. Man. Is that it? Before we get to you, I gotta ask Armin and Andy, because Armin and I talked about it, and I want to get Andy, and also Andy and I did a year ago as well, but the root beer scene. We all know the root beer scene during the war. Come on. I mean, seriously, that is like one of the greatest Star Trek conversations about the Federation. I'll let you start, Andy. But,
No, that was the only battle. It wasn't a battle, but that was the only time that, certainly I was involved in a situation where we changed something, a scene that Armin and I couldn't make work. And we said, listen, it was Jim Conway who was directing it. Said, Jim, sorry, man, you got to get the writers down here because this is not working. And they came down, and and basically we thrashed it out. And from being a very kind of boring, meaningless scene, it became something that was good.
Jim Conway said to Andy and I, he asked us to read the scene, and Andy and I had been working on it in my house during the weekend, and we had found subtleties there, because after all, it was a scene between two connivers. One is very smart, one is not so smart. And
they both were smart. He's still trying to kid you.
So we read it, and he looked at us and he said, it's not funny. And
That's right.
Andy and I said, we don't think the scene is funny. And he said, well, my marching orders from writer producers is that it has to be a funny scene. And that's when we said we had to put the writers down. And they took a look, and Ira said to Andy and I, can you do it our way? And we did it that way because we're good actors. We could take direction, and we did it. And then he said, now how do you want to do it? And we showed them what we thought was there in the scene, the subtlety that was there in the scene. And he and Robert Hugh Wolf, one of the other writers, discussed it for, I think, 20 seconds at the most, and then turned to Jim and said, do it Armin and Andy's way. And then, in fact, we had to redo it. Because we had done it, they realized there was something there that they had missed. So they rewrote the scene, and the scene that you saw is the rewritten scene.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten that.
Outstanding. Do you think they can sing us? I hope so. And the desperation. I mean, you just played it so well, Andy, in terms of just, again, a little contempt still, but are we screwed? And you're like, yeah, I hope we're not screwed. I mean, that was beautiful. That great button in that scene.
That's how I feel today. Anyway, yeah.
So my question is similar to the last person's question. At any point when you were working on the show, was there ever like an aspect or a direction that you wanted your character to go that you weren't able to? You remember?
I didn't realize this until years after the show was over, when Ira shared with me. I always wanted to make Quark more serious, and he wanted it to be a comic character. So I always wanted to push the envelope towards gravitas, and he wanted it to be farcical. So that was the conflict we had, and I didn't even know we were having a conflict, but he told me years later that there was that.
But it was not, conflict, but it was a dynamic that added to the character, that gave the character a real breadth, I thought.
Well, again, I go back to one of the original questions. I was so embarrassed by my first Randy performance that I was trying to change it, so that was my.
Last year, yes, indeed, absolutely. Last year, they also offered an audio version so you get Garak's voice reading a story, which is fantastic. But was there unfinished business you feel in A Stitch in Time that you were able to address?
Well, It's A Stitch in Time was written, the initial impulse was simply because, as I said earlier, I didn't know what a Cardassian was. I mean, I had no idea, and it was sort of annoying, Now I'm playing this alien. Is this? I didn't know it from a ham sandwich. So I did this it's an old actors thing that I've always done, which was I always write bios for my characters, just to give it some kind of background, some kind of subtext. And then I got so involved with the character was so amazing. I mean, it started basically because, I didn't want to, I really didn't want to do this character. And they offered it to me. I turned down the audition because I'd gone in several times for Odo, and they wanted me to come back for Garak, and I didn't, if you want, just offer me the damn thing. No, they don't do that. Irene, my wife, said, listen, the phone is not ringing off the hook. Go get the job, gotta pay the rent, and so forth. I went there, and then, it was okay. It was interesting. It was a good audition. But then when they started putting all that shit on me,
right?
And I'm claustrophobic, and I was really upset. My heart was pounding. I was on the, makeup chair, and then the final thing was after all that stuff. And they put that, and then they put the wetsuit on. And to make Cardassians look big, someone came up to me yesterday and said, God, you're not as big as I thought. Yeah, because they put all that furniture padding on. And so when that happened, I thought, this is serious, I thought, there's an old joke, and it's a crude joke, and forgive me, but who do I fuck to get out of this? And I was thinking about calling my agent. I saw myself in the mirror, and this is absolutely true. I saw myself in the mirror, and I thought, this is an opportunity. This is so amazing, this character. And that's when I fell in love with Garak. And that's when I started writing about it.
Okay. While we're on the subject of makeup, both of you, and even Nana. Here, let's go, Nana, Andy, and then Armin. How many hours in the makeup chair to get you ready? Alien ready?
So nothing like these two.
Right.
The whole thing was about an hour and a half. But when I was a Cardassian,
oh yes,
my call was
right.
1 a.m. and we started working at 7.
That's right.
So it was 6 hours of makeup. That it was like, why? A normal Cardassian isn't, but it was a Cardassian and then a beauty makeup on top of it.
Interesting. Oh, sure.
No, the first time was about 5 hours, and then they got it down to about 2 hours at the end of the show.
Wow.
Tell everyone the story about the time you slipped on the stairs and had to go to the doctor.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. So I was still in my clothes because we'd go to makeup in our clothes and then change into our costume. This was the first year, so, no one knew Bajorans or that nose or anything, but my makeup artist was great. So I didn't have my hair done, I just had my makeup on, and I was leaving the makeup trailer, and I slipped, and those metal stairs hit them hard on my back, and it was like, I can't move. I didn't know what I'd done, but it felt bad. So they sent me to an emergency room, and the doctor, he was very young, and he may have been you, but he came in, going, so I hear you had a fall. Oh my God! And he thought that I had accordioned my nose. And so I was very gentle in saying, no, it's I'm doing a sci-fi thing, it's makeup, and he's like, yeah, no, I knew that.
Very cool.
Thank you for being here. My question is whether or not, and to kind of piggyback off of an answer that you gave earlier, involving the storyline of the proposed storyline with the older cop and your mother. What if Ira didn't cave in, all the producers didn't cave in, and said that this is the storyline?
Then Kira would have been a different person.
Yeah.
If that had been the storyline, I would have gone with Kira's not who I thought she was. That's all I can think of. But I couldn't imagine, I would make calls, I'm sure we all did, when there were little things, and go, listen, Ira, and you'd be like, nope, and okay, all right, and I was like, I get it. And so I had a history of a lot of no's. So when I didn't go, okay, I get it, when I went, Ira, no, this is big for me, and we really had it out. And from two people from New York, there was some yelling. That meant nothing, it was just how we communicated.
That's how Ira communicated.
Yes, it's very heightened. It's very heightened if you know Ira. And so I think he took me seriously because I'd never fought before, and I fought for this.
Yeah, thank you.
But Ducat still played him as, eventually you're gonna, see the light.
Yes.
And the whole Zial dynamic of the three of you, because you really were sympathetic towards Zial, and there's that great moment when the station is still being occupied, and it's like, oh, you're almost a family. Hey, we're all gonna have dinner tonight. And you're like, what the hell am I doing? My God,
Yeah.
That was awesome. And really, I loved that Mark was still kind of pushing that and everything.
Yeah, it added great tension to everything.
Conflict, absolutely.
Hello, I'm Ian, plain, simple 21st century human.
Human.
Anyway.
So the show had a bit of a stigma coming up again right around when TNG was in its final seasons. Did that in any way influence how you approach your characters or your performances?
What kind of stigma?
Like,
No, he's right. There was a
Was there?
Yeah.
Please. All right, well, you explain it for me. I don't know. Kind of stigma.
we were the lost child.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Excuse me. I thought there was next generation stigma. No. Yes, of course. You weren't next gen.
They were doing films,
Well, sure.
We were
Well,
worrying whether or not we were going to be fired.
and also, it was great that Miles was on DS9, but the first meetings with Cisco and Picard, he hates Picard, and it's like, that's Dad. Wait a minute, Dad's going away. And now we're left with you people. We don't know you people. So I appreciate that. Please.
I don't think it changed any of our work, but we, as I've said and others have said, we lived under a shadow for a very long time. One that I'm grateful we finally come out from underneath.
Absolutely. Very cool. Excellent. Good luck on your beat back to the 23rd through 24th century.
thank you, and may the Force prophets be with you.
Thank you. Are you cool with Star Wars people? Is there any little...
I've also done Star Wars, so it's okay.
Oh, there you go. I didn't realize. Did you do voice work for...
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Please, Miss.
Hi, my name is Jamie, and I would like to start by just saying thank you so much for this amazing show. This was the first show I saw. I was 8.
Thank you. Thank you very
6
much.
years later,
Thank
it's
you.
still my favorite Trek show.
That's great.
And I was just wondering if there were any episodes or scenes that you were particularly proud of.
I think we're all very proud of Far Beyond the Stars.
Cool.
Which I wasn't in.
And that's what we're proud of.
It pissed me off. Even more pissed off when I wasn't in the baseball episode. I was the only one who could play baseball.
Oh, that's a nightmare because I couldn't throw a ball. I remember one time Avery threw in a scene, he did an improv moment of throwing a bag at me for me to catch, and we're off on a mission. And he couldn't believe it. He threw the bag at me and I stood like this. He was like, you have no instincts whatsoever. If I throw this is that? Don't you want to catch it? I was like, no. So they got me a coach for the baseball episode. And I've still got a pretty mean arm from that.
The Wire, there's an episode in the second season called The Wire, and it's probably one of the handful of performances I am most proud of. It's an episode where Garak, it's sort of Garak's origin story, but you don't know which story is true because he tells so many while he's, falling apart. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely falling apart because the chip that he had that kind of controlled his tolerance of humans. Absolutely, that's good stuff.
And there was a scene with Avery Brooks in this thing called In the Pale Moonlight, which is like,
well, yeah. Well, the two of you really got the leads of that show and all the dirty things that Avery had to do, and you're pulling them along. And again, man, the turns you had to do, all of you. But yeah, that's great. That's excellent.
And I just want to mention Duet and the amazing.
Of course, yes.
Harris Hewlin, I just recently watched the show because I was going to talk about it for a podcast, and he makes me cry every single time. He was just remarkable.
Harris was standing next to me when I met Kitty.
Was he really?
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's great.
Wonderful actor.
Moment on Duet, women did not get to, that's the kind of man against man, kind of interrogation or whatever scene. I can't think of many women that got to play that role.
Not many, no.
That's
Silence of the Lambs, I think.
You're right, and you brought that up on my podcast when we talked about it. Absolutely, yeah. Very cool.
Thank you so much.
That was
Thank
awesome.
you.
I hope everyone doesn't mind that I interject while you guys are asking questions.
It's your show, man.
Thanks. Thanks, Andy.
I want to say thank you for being here. And, as I was growing up, my parents, they were big Star Trek fans, and I tried to get my kids. I have two sets of kids. I have an older set of kids now, and I do married to younger kids. And the older kids would never, no matter how much I tried, they would never want to watch Star Trek. But as you already alluded to, there was the Take Me Out to the Hollywood episode, the baseball episode, and every time that comes on, they would always love it, and they always quote it to this day. And my middle son is no longer with us, but he always loved the episode. And I just wanted to thank you guys for making that. And it's even the older son, when it comes on to this day, he watches it, and he calls me every time he mentions about the times we had. So I just wanted to let you guys know, just thank you for making that episode. And Nana already touched on it, the stuff from that. I just want to know if there was anything else that you guys, just for me, if there's anything else you remember from filming that episode. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. One of the great things that we hear on a regular basis that you just did is it's very nice to be told how good our work is, and we're very flattered by that. But the thing that touches me the most is your kind of story that you just told us about family getting together and watching the show as a family, that made time for each other. And it's not that you made time for the show, it's that you family got together and made time for yourselves to watch it. And that watching our show, perhaps other shows as well, remind you of good times in the past. That is, for me, is the most flattering thing that I can hear.
Yeah.
There's so much that changes in life, but I have comfort shows too, that you watch and you remember who you were with, what you were feeling, when you watch the show again. So I love that we're a part of people's lives like that.
Thanks for sharing that.
Hi, my name is Matt. Thank you again for doing Richard II play with French Sean a few years ago. I forced him to
Richard III.
I don't remember what it was. How many Richards are there? I made him watch some of the episodes of the show for physical meeting, and I watched the pilot and watched Duet. It's like, well, just don't argue, just watch it, see why. But thank you for the show entirely, and then carrying on into Star Trek Online, which has some terrific stories, and just many wonderful ones that were cool that they could continue from the show in general, but thank you for both things altogether. Just,
Now, were you talking about Armin's Richard III?
No, the one you did Richard the
Richard the Second.
Yes,
Apologies, you did Richard the Second. I'm sorry, my ego got in the way. I'm sorry.
the online play during COVID.
Yes, yes. Actually, I think the director of it is here, Jane Farnell, yeah. So thank you.
Not a visitor. I'm like, wait a minute, say that again? I'm like, you're making a play with Kieran Reese, and proceed to prefer to respond for the next few minutes, but yes. And also thank you for Jonathan is one of the best Scottish accents you've ever heard. He's not Scottish. That's pretty much sums up. Thank you for everything.
Thanks so much. Do all of you know, and we're right through it, so I'll ask people that are asking questions to be as quickly as possible. Do all of you know about Sid's site, Sid City? And do you guys know about the performance that all three of them did with Sid? That was kind of an after D.F. Stein thing. Some people are nodding. If you haven't heard it or watched it, it's on YouTube under Sid's YouTube channel, Sid City, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's this great post What We Left Behind story. And also Sirach is in it as well. And it's a fantastic story. Sid takes the lead, but all of them appear. And they're all wonderful in it. So I encourage you, if you haven't seen it and you're jonesing for a new story, there you go. Please, sir.
So I guess I'll start off by saying, Andrew, when are you going to start on Richard stories?
Oh, there you go.
No, Richard, I did.
No, Richard the Second together, actually.
That's great.
So my name, I want to say that we missed you yesterday for the karaoke. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
We actually had informally about 20 people. We closed down the place on Sweet Caroline. They had to cut it off.
Wonderful.
But we kept on singing, but you were missed.
Wonderful, thank you.
So, again, like some of the other people have said, you guys were, I will say, I was born in '66. So the old generation, I remember it, because I remember pretty well. I remember that as an infant. So I love that show. Next Generation was a little hard, for me to go with. I found that Deep Space Nine, that became my adult show. And that's the one I had with my parents and my brothers, so just very cherished. And each of you you guys sat in your characters so beautifully. Kira, your eye contact, I'm sorry, as Kira, your eye contact is so good. You made us feel like you were physically bigger and you commanded that presence, that character so well. Andrew, I loved how it's like the visuals and the sound and something changed when you acted. You just, all eyes on you. I just focused in on you because you commanded the scene. You slowed down time for me. Every time you were in there, it's just fantastic. And Armin, I mean, you in your club, you just kind of like, you were a part of the club. And the way you kind of moved around, you were in such command, and it was just wonderful. I love that I saw you as the principal later in Buffy. Thank you guys so much for that. My question is, since you guys kind of broke the mold with Star Trek, you guys went from those shows being where, hey, we're out in the universe, we can fly, we can have chase scenes, we can go off the planet, do all these fun moving things. You guys were spacewalk as actors. Did you find it challenging to try to imbue a sense of movement, motion, something to make up for the lack of all of that those other shows had?
That's a really good question.
It is, but no, because, the traveling we did, I remember Avery telling me this years ago, the traveling was from here to here, a short journey, but a very impactful and important one. So that filled everything that I was constantly trying to figure out this humanoid's journey and failing, another thing women weren't allowed to do back in the day, failing and learning and making mistakes and getting better. So that was a lot of movement inside.
That's right.
Well put, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bit of a dream come true. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. running close on time, so I hope we can get to everybody. Please, sir.
So I was perfectly content to watch my DVDs of Deep Space Nine for a long time, and then what we left behind came out, and they had these beautiful shots from film. Does Deep Space Nine, the objectively best Star Trek, have any chance of getting the TNG remaster treatment and coming out where we can see the beautiful sets and costumes and everything that
I don't get it. I don't know.
We're sitting here and, we're wondering, gee, listen, I'm not putting down TNG. That show was what it was. Sure. And things evolve. Certainly from the first, series that we all love. But then going to, Next Generation, it's like the evolution of storytelling. And the company of actors that we had, who were, extraordinary actors. Again, I'm not putting them down, but this was a great company of actors, and the writing was superb. And the fact that we are treated the way we are treated is baffling to me. It's okay. It's just the way the world goes. The world is not fair, but it isn't fair. This series should be given all of the technological assistance and boost that it well deserves. No question.
Not to obligate them, but knowing, as someone not involved in the show, Paramount, just got sold. I hope that the new owners will have the funds, because it is 7 seasons and over 100 episodes. Good Lord, several hundred episodes.
Oh, several hundred. Those are the days when we did how many episodes?
26.
26 a
Can
year.
you imagine 26 of the episodes a year of this kind of work? And unbelievable. Whereas HBO barely squeezes out 8 or 10. And a lot of that is just absolute bullshit. They're falling in love with their dragons and their technology. And there's no goddamn story left.
Here he goes.
I love it. And it's true. The writing and the characters is what makes Star Trek stand out and persist and endure. So it's probably the final question. I'm so sorry. I hope you guys will go to their tables and ask your questions directly.
I won't rant, I promise you. It's the best part.
Yeah, it is. It's the best part.
Exactly.
Thank you all. I love the show, like everyone here. It's one of the very few shows that, when it ended, I actually said to myself, do I want to watch anything else now? Sad when the show ended, but like everyone else here, said, what they loved is that the various character arcs and how each of your characters changed by the end of the show. What I also loved was the very different relationships between all the different characters. Like, for example, each of you had a different relationship, your characters, with somebody like Odo. So my question was, do you have a favorite relationship you had with another character, whether friend or foe?
It was Odo and Renee, definitely.
Without Sid, I wouldn't be here.
That's
it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Certainly, Odo and I were very close, hated each other. Odo and Quark didn't like each other. It's a love-hate relationship. But I had a beautiful relationship with Ron, with Nog, with Cecily, who played Noogie. They were, I was part of Deep Space Nine, but my storylines tended to be different than the rest of the thrust of the show. So I was sort of on my own little show. And so those are the characters I'm most related to. But certainly, Odo, Renee and I were extraordinarily close.
Well, forgive. Please, Andy.
No, I was just giving a wave to Renee.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, did. Absolutely. Wonderful performance. And again, all three of them had amazing moments. It's like, not to self-promote, but truly, if you want to learn more beyond what we just heard in the last hour, I just did interviews with Nana and Armin, and they're at wordballoon.com, and you can find them. And then last summer, right around the time of Terrificon, I had a great conversation with Andy. And again, guys, I'm one of you. I'm such a fan. So it was a pleasure to talk to him then. It's an honor to have moderated the panel. I hope you enjoy it. Please.
Before you finish, if I
Please, Armin.
myself.
Oh, yes, Armin, by all means, yes, please.
If you're interested in finding out more about each of the episodes of Deep Space Nine, please go to Delta Flyers, where Terry and I have been, and others, has done.
Yes.
And he's about to do one. Some of the other people involved in the show also, where we look at each episode really analytically and really shot by shot, scene by scene, and get some memories of the people who were involved in the production of that particular episode.
Yeah. The great charity work that you and your wife do and everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you now, but look me up and ask about PanCan, which is pancreatic cancer, which my wife is a survivor.
Well, I'm happy to say Aaron and I covered it in our conversation as well. So, you guys were great questions.
Thank
and
you.
we really
Yeah.
appreciate your
Thank you so
attention.
much.
Thank you.